Welcome back to the Nerdy Grail and welcome to a brand new Doctor Who ranking video today. So, since it's nearly Christmas, it's literally a week now today as of recording this video that it is Christmas Day. I thought it's time to look back on the previous Doctor Who Christmas specials, seeing as unfortunately we're not getting a Doctor Who Christmas special this year, and I was going to rank them in celebration for the fact that obviously we're hopefully going to get a Doctor Who Christmas special in 2026. And obviously this Christmas we have been treated to the war between the land and the sea, with the finale episode dropping later this week. But we've had a plethora of Doctor Who Christmas specials. They've either introduced a new Doctor, we've said goodbye to a Doctor, they've introduced companions. There's so much that the Christmas special, in New Who in particular, has given us and has had to take on board. They're not just that jolly Christmas special, they usually have some hard-hitting stuff that we have to deal with, and there's been loads. So in today's video, I'm going to be ranking them all in my personal opinion, and I have included the New Year's specials as well from the Jodie Whittaker era, because I thought that would be fair, because they were the equivalent of a Christmas special. So we are going to be starting with the Christmas Invasion and going all the way up to Joy to the World. We've got 4 categories from the best to meh. And just keep in mind when I do this, this is just my personal opinion. So if you agree with my picks, don't agree with my picks, that's perfectly fine. But let's just make sure that we're respectful in the comments below. So first off, we have got Doctor Who, The Christmas Invasion, which introduced us to the 10th Doctor, played by David Tennant, who was taking on the mantle from Christopher Eccleston after he bowed out at the end of Season 1. So this bridged the gap between Season 1 and Season 2. Now, for me, I did really enjoy The Christmas Invasion. I thought it was a fun story. Would I say it was anything spectacular or blow me away? Not particularly, but it was interesting to see, you know, how the world would react and how, you know, locals would react without the Doctor, because the Doctor spends most of his time in bed, suffering with, like, the post-regeneration stuff. And so it's up to Rose, Mickey, Jackie, Harriet Jones and people to save the day and to work out what's going on as the world comes under threat from the pilot fish and the Sycorax, which the Sycorax are a cool villain. I love the killer Christmas tree scene, the scene where the Doctor's going crazy, pulls a Satsuma out of his dressing gown. I thought that was quite fun. It shows the quirky side of the new Doctor, especially compared to Christopher Eccleston's Doctor. I loved the sword fight on top of the Sycorax ship. I thought that was nice. I thought the Doctor choosing his outfit scene was quite nice, especially for new Whovians who hadn't seen that before, and this was their first post-regeneration story. You know, it does settle you in quite nicely, but I would say it would be nice to see more of the Doctor per se. But however, I will say it is a great Christmas special, and it is one that I tend to love and tend to go back and watch quite a lot. Then we've got The Runaway Bride. For me, The Runaway Bride, before I explain why, it's going up in the best. I love The Runaway Bride. It is just a good fun, good laugh. This introduces us to a new companion, well, temporary companion here. She comes back later in Season 4 of Donna Noble, where she ends up on the TARDIS by accident. You know, well, they say accident, it was intended, but, you know, she stumbles into the Doctor's life in her eyes by accident. And the main villain of this is the Rachnos Empress, this giant spider-like creature. They do bring back the pilot fish in a slightly new design, temporarily. One of the best scenes is definitely, which showcases the new relationship the Doctor's got with his new companion here, is obviously the scene on the motorway when Donna is being kidnapped, and the Doctor has to fly the TARDIS through the cars and get Donna to, like, open the door, open the window, and jump from the taxi into the TARDIS to stop her from being kidnapped. I think Donna and the Doctor's relationship is hilarious in this episode, and it's really nice to see that when you go from obviously the lovey-dovey stuff that Billie Piper's Rose Tyler had with the 10th Doctor to now you've got Donna Noble, who's getting married and has no intention on anything like that with the Doctor and just wants to go back to her normal life, but does tend to get caught up in the thrill of it all during the course of the episode. So I thought that was quite nice. It's a funny Christmas special as well. It is light-hearted. And some of the side characters as well, like Lance, the fiance, or the person, you know, the person that Donna's getting married to, is also quite an interesting character. He's the protagonist, and he's like the secret antagonist working with the Rachnos. I thought visually it was really, really good. you know, and I love like the Doctor's sort of going through the motions of he's just lost Rose, so there's times like when he's seeing people at the reception, Donna's reception, he sees them dancing and remembers time with Rose. You know, you get all that sort of thing, which I think is quite nice and shows the Doctor's character developing. It's a great story. I kind of wish Donna had stayed on, but Series 3 had Martha Jones, and I love Martha Jones. But yeah, very good story, and I do really like The Runaway Bride. Moving straight on, we've then got Voyage of the Damned. I think Voyage of the Damned is a great story as well. Not as good as The Runaway Bride. I'd say it's about on par with The Christmas Invasion for me. You know, all set on, you know, the Titanic, but in space. You've got Kylie Minogue playing temporary companion Astrid Peth. You've got the Heavenly Host, which I like to think the Heavenly Hosts, they like flutter somewhere between like your pilot fish on the first two. And they've almost got like a weeping angel vibe to them, which is, I think, quite interesting. I love their golden look, really cool. You know, the tone that they speak in, the robotic tone, is really like intense and creepy and eerie. I love it. I love all the side characters, the little group of different people who the Doctor's having to help save while the Titanic is crashing down to Earth. Like Bana Cathalata, absolutely brilliant, love that character. We get the first teaser Wilfred Mott in this as well, when the Doctor and Astrid and a couple of others get transported down to Earth. And I just love the relationship and the bond they have, and it's basically like a base under siege where they're trying to get to the bridge, they're escaping the Heavenly Hosts. It's all really, really cool. And the secret villain at the end of Max Capricorn, I think, and the fact that he's actually still alive, because they tease, is he not? You know, no one's heard from him, no one's seen him, this, that, and the other. But you find out he is still alive, and I like that. And yeah, visually, and it is a perfect little Christmas special. You know, that bridges the gap between season 3 and season 4. The Doctor's obviously lost another companion, going between Martha Jones and then the return of Donna Noble, teased through Wilfred Mott, I think is really, really nice. Then we got the Next Doctor. For me, it's good, but it's definitely, so far on this list, as I've gone along, the weakest Christmas special for me personally. And it is probably the weakest of the RTD1 era Christmas specials. You know, they bring back the Cybermen after quite a long absence. They tease us because we know that David Tennant's leaving, with David Morrissey, who plays the Next Doctor, but actually find out he's not actually the Next Doctor. He's just a human who's like absorbed like data and memories from the Doctor during an encounter with the Cybermen, and it's just flooded his brain, and he's used that as like a shield for trauma of the Cybermen taking his son, and they use him in the factories, you know. So it was a nice little idea, and I could see where RTD was going for, and it was nice to see the Cybermen in Victorian London. I like the design of the Cyber King. The Cyber Shades are really cool as well. This like animalistic dog-like Cyberman with like black capes and bronzed faces, I thought was interesting. Rosita, the companion for the Doctor, the fake Doctor, I thought was interesting, and the choice of name as well. Rosita, very close to Rose, so it feels like they are very like trying to do parallels there. You know, the Doctor unsure whether this is actually another Doctor or not, so quizzing him. I love that the fake Doctor's TARDIS was a hot air balloon. Thought that was a nice touch. Yeah, it was interesting, and visually it was nice, but I just feel like for a Cyberman story, it didn't really like warrant it. In terms of Christmas, it was kind of not here nor there. It was okay. It wasn't like meh-worthy. I'd say it's good, but it's definitely not as good as Voyage of the Damned, Christmas Invasion, or The Runaway Bride. Then you got The End of Time. I'm bundling these together, The End of Time Part 1 and 2. For me, The End of Time Part 1 and Part 2... yeah, I'm torn because I really like one part, but I'm not a big fan of the other. I'm going to be fair and I'm going to put it in great, The End of Time, because I do really like the build-up of The End of Time. Part 1, for me, I adore the build-up. The only thing I don't like about Part 1 is the cafe scene in where Wilf and the Doctor are talking, and Wilf has tried to lure the Doctor to talk to Donna again and see if they can rekindle their relationship, and the Doctor whines about regeneration, and it does it very undoctory. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I love the Master resurrection. I love the Doctor, you know, his fear, how he encounters the Master for the first time, when the gate is introduced, the cliffhanger at the end where the Master jumps into the gate and puts himself onto everybody across the planet, creating a Master race where everyone is the Master. I thought that was interesting, setting high stakes. I love Wilf searching for the Doctor with his little crew. He gets on a bus and has a team of friends and stuff who goes out searching for the Doctor. I thought all that was nice. You know, I like the Doctor's cocky attitude at the start of the episode, even though he knows the end is coming, you know, and then, gets really serious when he discovers what is actually going to happen to him. And then it all falls apart a bit in part 2, you know. It's funny, John Simm's still good as the Master, but the whole regeneration thing at the end, and his final words of "I don't want to go" is very un-Doctor-like. People know my thoughts on the end of time, especially the regeneration. As a story, it's not too bad. It's pretty good and pretty entertaining. I do love the Doctor facing off against the Time Lords at the end. Timothy Dalton does a great job as Rassilon. The Master sacrificing himself for the Doctor, technically. I thought that was a nice little touch. You know, there's little bits and pieces I love. The Doctor sacrificing himself for Wilf. That was a really good thing to do. It's just then him throwing a tantrum afterwards sort of ruins it a bit. So it's great, but there's just a few things that let it down for me. I'd probably say in the great category, it's the lower half of great. Moving then into Matt Smith's era, the Stephen Moffat era for Christmas specials. I have a bit of a weird relationship with these ones. They're a bit all over the place, if I'm perfectly honest. A Christmas Carol I've grown to love a lot more. I would say originally Christmas Carol will be quite low, but I've really grown to love it a lot more. I think it's a beautiful Christmas special. It's a visual masterpiece. The soundtrack, the music, the singing that's incorporated is lovely. It's a really interesting take on A Christmas Carol with our main trio. You do have Amy and Rory, but they're off on a spaceship that's crash landing, is unable to land properly. You know, they've had their honeymoon. They're wearing like the policewoman outfit and the last Centurion outfit. It's really weird in the background. And the Doctor's, you know, trying to get the lights back on or whatever, clear the fog up down below, which is being run by this guy who's basically Scrooge, and has to find the true meaning of Christmas again. And we find out it's because he fell in love with someone. He's locked her in like cryostasis, and every Christmas he would unfreeze her. They'd have parties and adventures and trips together. And then he realises she only has one Christmas left and he keeps her locked away. The family want to see her, but he refuses to let them because he knows what will happen. It's a big misunderstanding, but it's also a big love story as well. And I just think it's beautiful. I love it. The shark that's in it is a bit of an odd choice. But yeah, I quite like A Christmas Carol. It's a bit of fun. And yeah, it's really grown on me a lot. The Doctor, the Wit and the Wardrobe, this might upset some people. Some people may agree with me here. I just can't connect very well with The Doctor, the Widow and the Wardrobe, and if I'm honest, it tends not to be one that I come back and watch very often. I like the brief little Easter egg that they got towards Androzani, and I love Kate Androzani, but I'm not really huge. The Narnia parallels, the side characters aren't the best. I'm not really... I'm sorry. It just doesn't really hit well with me. The pacing is off on this one. I do think it is quite sweet, a family being reunited when they think that their father has been lost during the war. And I do think that's... And the Doctor's able to save them. And I think that's nice. Really weird to see that the plane luring like the big lighthouse thing through the time vortex is silly, and the Doctor in the backwards space suit is, I thought that was a bit much as well. I don't know. I was just a bit, it's not the best for me. Then we got the Snowmen. I think the Snowmen is good. I think it's good. I know some people aren't a huge fan of the Snowmen. I think it's a good Christmas special. It's not a spectacular Christmas special, but you've got the Doctor almost doing a bit like what happens in Runaway Bride, but in a bit more of a darker, more down-toned version. Like, the Doctor in Runaway Bride is upset about the loss of Rose, but he still has his quirkiness to him, whereas in the Snowmen, Clara's really got to force it out of him, same as the Paternoster gang, because he's lost Amy and Rory and he's really upset, he's really down, he's hiding up on a cloud, he doesn't want to see anyone, he doesn't want to help anyone, he doesn't want to get close to anyone. I love Asher, Jenny and Strax, by the way, especially Strax. Strax is hilarious in this story. Sorry, I do have a cup of tea here. Absolutely amazing. I do love it. The Return of the Great Intelligence as well. Would have been nice to see the Yeti. I think the Yeti would have fitted quite well in a Christmas special, but instead we got them controlling the snow, which turns into big snowmen, which are quite scary, actually, might I add. Clara was an interesting addition. We'd seen her previously in Asylum of the Daleks. Yeah, overall, it wasn't too bad. It was a pretty fun little Christmas special. I like the Doctor's outfit in this. Really suits the tone, you know, the dark, I don't want to help anyone tone from the light-hearted tweed jacket that he had literally an episode prior. I thought that was quite nice. But yeah, I thought it was a fun one. It was good. It wasn't anything great or spectacular, but it was a good Christmas special. Then you got the Time of the Doctor, the Matt Smith's final episode. This is more of a personal one for me. I quite like Time of the Doctor. Yeah, it's a bit all over the place as well. Yeah, it's a bit wacky and weird, but it's a regeneration story, like The End of Time. And the Doctor goes through lots in this story. You know, he's finally come to the resting place of him. He's trapped on Trenzalore. You know, he's trying to stop a war from happening. There's a crack in the wall, which has been following him through his entire era. If he speaks his name, the Time Lords will return. The Daleks and everyone above will break out and a new Time War will emerge. So the Doctor stays there to make sure that never happens. He sort of gets trapped there. And you get to see him be bald in this story. He's naked in this story. He turns into an old man. You see Matt Smith in every way, shape or form. And you get to see lots of villains. You see the return of Amy during his regeneration. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. You get to see him proper, almost like relax and retire. A bit like what 14 does later. But it is really sweet and really nice. You get to meet more of Clara's family, which is quite nice because Clara was this big mystery box in Series 7 with Matt Smith. So to see like her gran and stuff like that, I thought that was quite nice. Yeah, and I like the regeneration as well. I liked his big regeneration on the clock tower. And then I thought his speech was beautiful, you know, that, you know, we all change when you think about it. You know, we're all different people. And he's right, and it was beautiful. Great. One of my favourite speeches from a Doctor while they're about to regenerate. And just a short poof, and then Peter Capaldi's in. I thought that was quite a shock as well. But yeah, really good. I quite like it. And it was a nice end to the Matt Smith era. It does tie up a lot of loose ends. The first Peter Capaldi Christmas special, Last Christmas. Personal one for me, I also think is quite meh. I'm not a massive fan of Last Christmas, and it's mostly to do with the Clara Oswald, Danny Pink dream sequences, where Clara's got like one of those face hugger crab things on her face, and she's dying, so to speak, and she is dreaming about a perfect Christmas with Danny Pink. I'm not a fan of any of those scenes. It really takes it out of me and pulls me away from the adventure on, you know, the base. I love all that, and I love Nick Frost as Santa Claus. I love the banter between him and the Doctor. I think it's great, but all the stuff with Danny Pink really ruins it for me. So I just don't go back to rewatch this story very often, if I'm honest. So that's a personal one for me. I know some people like Last Christmas, but in my opinion, I'm not huge on it. Husbands of River Song. This is definitely a personal bias one for me. People will not agree with this. Some will, but I know a lot won't. I'm putting the Husbands of River Song up alongside The Runaway Bride as one of the best, because the amount of times I go back to watch The Husbands of River Song is unreal. Peter Capaldi and Alex Kingston, 12 and River, perfect combination. They are amazing. I love that River just won't accept this as the Doctor, or can't seem to accept this as the Doctor, because he's supposed to only have 12 faces or 13 faces, and she knows them all, and this is a brand new one. And I love the Doctor trying to pretend that he's not the Doctor, and also him trying to make it really obvious that it's the Doctor. You know, I think Greg Davis as King Hydroflax is a great casting. We're introduced to Nardole, played by Matt Lucas, who's fantastic. And you know my opinions on 12, Bill and Nardole as a TARDIS team. They're great. I love it when River finally realises it's the Doctor. There's references, the scenes on Delirium, I think. On Delirium. I was trying to get back to the future there. I thought they were beautiful, gorgeous, and such a sweet ending. A bit cringy, yeah, they live like happily ever after, that sort of thing. A little bit cringy. I love that we finally find out that he was the Doctor that gave River in the library that sonic screwdriver. You know, it all ties the story together beautifully, and it is visually gorgeous as well. And I love, like I said, I love when the Doctor turns to River and says, "Hello, sweetie." I think it's brilliant. Top class. Return of Dr. Mysterio. Like Last Christmas, it's not one that I go back to watch. It's silly. It's basically Doctor Who meets Superman, basically. It's a Doctor Who superhero one. yeah, it doesn't really make much sense, if I'm perfectly honest. There's a couple of scenes I like, and a couple of funny moments. Like I said, the Doctor and Nardole were great. And I do love towards the end when the Doctor is basically questioned about, you know, his relationship with River and is he actually okay? And I love the Doctor's speech about being happy. You know, that everything ends and that's okay, but things start again anew. You know, I love that. Brilliant speech. Beautiful. Perfect. And that's just what the 12th Doctor's all about. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Return of Dr. Mystere, if I'm honest. Twice Upon a Time, I think, then is good. Again, I wouldn't say it's anything spectacular. It's another regeneration story. Multi-Doctor regeneration story with 12 and 1, played by David Bradley this time. Yeah, like I said, it's alright. There's not really a massive threat. It's just about the 1st and 12th Doctors refusing to regenerate until basically they come to the realization that they have to go on living and there's a reason for going on living and we're doing this for these people and this, that and the other. I think it's nice, don't get me wrong. You get some nice returns of Clara and Nardole. You know, you get little clips from 10th Planet. And yeah, so it's nice. You get ties to the Brigadier. Yeah, it's good. And the regeneration itself is pretty good. I think Capaldi's speech is beautiful, bit cringy at times, I'm not going to lie, like the children hear your name bit is a bit all over the place. It's an okay one. It's a little bit better than the Doctor Wooden Wardrobe and stuff, but not quite as good as like the Christmas Invasion and stuff. Resolution for me is meh. I'm not a fan of the first Jodie Whittaker Dalek New Year's special. There was no Dalek until the end. He spends all his time out of the casing, just attached to a girl's back. Then they got all the stuff with Ryan and his father. It was a bit of a waste of time, and I wasn't huge, and I hated the joke about the Wi-Fi going off, and then the kids and the mother saying like, "Oh, we're gonna have to have a conversation." Really not a fan of that. Like, yeah, that's not. Yeah, I cringed at that rather than laughed. Wasn't huge. I like the design of the Dalek when it's all put together. I thought, yeah, that's cool. And when the Dalek actually started doing stuff, yeah, then it was an okay one. But that was like the last 10 minutes of like an hour special or whatever. But yeah, just wasn't a huge fan. Revolution of the Daleks. Again, I think that was good. It was better than Resolution. I think Revolution of the Daleks, you know, with the return of Captain Jack Harkness, I thought that was pretty good. I quite like Captain Jack. I like the 2 Dalek factions. I thought that was nice. I like the references to Gwen. Captain Jack should have gotten shot or something by a Dalek and then come back to life, because he does the line that he's immortal, but you never actually get to see evidence of that in this story. So it was almost like, what really was the point in bringing back John Barrowman's Captain Jack, apart from trying to boost the figures, you know what I mean? But yeah, and the Doctor in prison thing, they made a massive deal about it at the end of Series 12, and she's out of prison within 15 minutes. You know, so I was just like, they should have made it a big thing. Should have made it so that all the cast and crew had to go and break her out of prison, you know? And Captain Jack maybe comes to Earth and has to recruit Yaz, Dan, and Graham and all to go and save her. And the Daleks then invade the prison, maybe. That would have been a better option. But, yeah, we got what we got. It was good, but it was nothing to blow me away. Eve of the Daleks. I love Eve of the Daleks. Yeah, this one's going to piss people off as well, but I don't care. I'm putting even the Daleks up here. People are going to so disagree with that, especially with the David Tennant ones down here. But I don't care. I love Eve of the Daleks. I've watched this one a billion times, like Runaway Bride and Husbands of River Song. I love time loop stuff, Groundhog Day style things. Small cast as well. You've just got 5 characters and the Daleks. Brilliant. Love it. Each time. Claustrophobic feel, so it's got a bit of scary tension. Still got the New Year's feel. I love it, because obviously it's all about the countdown to midnight. Great, and you get to see the repercussions of the Flux as well come back and haunt the Doctor. Yeah, I liked it. A little bit of lovey-dovey stuff with the Doctor and Yaz was a bit annoying at times, but that's about it. It's fun. And Aisling Bea, I love Aisling Bea as a comedian and actress and actor, whatever. She's great. Love her. The 2 shooty ones then, because we didn't have one for 14. We got the Church on Ruby Road. Yeah, I'm going to put these 2 instantly into the categories, and I'm going to just briefly explain them. Right, I'm going to put the Church on Ruby Road in meh, and I'm going to put Joy to the World in good, but no, I'm going to put them both in meh. I'm going to put them both in meh. Right, Church on Ruby Road is it's okay, but the problem is it sets up a mystery that never ends up happening. You know, it's all about why was Ruby left on Ruby Road, who's her mother, this, that, and the other. If you've seen the finale of Season 1, Legend of Ruby Sunday and Empire of Death, you know that goes nowhere. You know, it looks visually pretty. The goblins look visually pretty. You know, you can see where the Disney budget and all's come from, but there's no substance to it. The only things I really like I said, is the goblins do look pretty, and I will say I liked how the Doctor and Ruby were introduced to each other on the roof. That should have been the first scene they were introduced to. Not all the dancing in the nightclubs and stuff. Their first scene together should have been Ruby trying to get the baby and the Doctor running along the rooftops being like, what the hell are you doing? And then jumps on the ladder. That should have been how they were introduced. Because that would have been one of the coolest introductions I would have seen to a Doctor and companion ever, if I'm being honest. It was really good, that scene. But apart from that, and the Doctor and Ruby singing to the Goblin King? Nah, that's not for me, sorry. Not a big fan of that. And then Joy to the World. Again, it was okay. The Time Hotel's a nice idea. Joy was a bit bland. They were tying it together with COVID and stuff and all as well, which here and all there. I like that the Doctor did get stuck for a year. He definitely should have stayed longer and invited, I think it was Anita, I want to say, as a companion. She should have been a companion. But it didn't come to be. And I just remember leaving, watching Joy to the World, thinking, have I taken anything from that? I'm not really sure if I have, if I'm honest. And it just doesn't stick very well with me, if I'm honest, either. But that is going to be my ranking of the Doctor Who Christmas and New Year's specials. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, please like it by giving it a thumbs up and comment down below your thoughts on these Christmas specials and what would your list be. And subscribe if you're new. But for now, this is Nerdy Grail signing off. Hope you've had an amazing day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now, everyone.